Issue 182. Tikal says that chaos being released must be how the Great War starts, and Sonic doesn't really want to break it to Tikal that in his time he only knows about 2 echidnas. So instead, Sonic hits her with karma by saying he'll tell her later, which he won't. Sonic has the willpower to fight Chaos's fear power, saying with cathartic rage that, "In the future, you kill one of my best friends. If I destroy you now, maybe I can change all that." I don't remember Sonic and Johnny having a single friendship moment together. Like, Johnny never gave him a sideways hug or anything. He was just the friend that he was never really a douche to. Sonic in his berserker rage spin ashes inside of Chaos again. I guess he was too mad to remember that this happened last time. Basically, he has no way of dealing with it. Maybe if he had one of Techno's gadgets that could electrocute it, taking advantage of the fact that it's a water being. And like, it's not liquidy enough for him to take advantage of it being liquid, like with Megatox, so there goes that. I guess he could freeze it, but that might also require a gadget. Then he disappears because Tikal's dad used his magic to send him back to the future. So it was Tikal's magical family who sent him back in time with their own powers, which will never be explained. At least Penders explained that the Guardians had their powers because they're training near the Master Emerald. We never get explanations for most of the magic of the Sonic characters, but it's just that when Penders, it was actually explained, well, there's no attempt at an explanation here. Chaos then feels weak because Sonic being sent back drained him of a great deal of power, and he tells Knuckles that this might be their only chance. Then we cut away to the heroes flying their vehicles over to Eggman's mountain base because they tracked the emeralds down to it. I am gonna get to see the rest of the past battle with Chaos, right? Because I'm more interested in the outcome of that. Eggman says it's up to Grimer to come up with a plan, since he's the one who released Chaos, who immediately shows up to threaten them. Grimer then states the obvious at seeing it, and Eggman snarks amusingly, "You don't say." I guess he's still bitterly depressed about losing his position as ruler of the world at this point, since he doesn't seem to be afraid of dying here. Sonic is then transported forwards in time and reappears inside of Chaos in front of his friends. How can Sonic scream inside of Chaos without water getting into his mouth and him making mere gurgling sounds while underwater? Is Chaos just full of air? Why is he floating in water then? Sonic falls out of Chaos's chest as Chaos explains everything. Then we cut to 8,000 years earlier, where the Echidnas have only temporarily driven the Dracon invaders out of the city. Tikal hopes Sonic's okay. Her father reasons that Sonic would have been destroyed if he was in Chaos for just another moment. And the story ends with Tikal's father saying that everything about how Knuckles is in the future will become clear in time. I have a feeling it won't, and fuck the writing for that. It's a shameful thing when Penders, the worst writer ever, looks like the much better writer, putting much more care and effort into his work because he fully explained the mysteries behind Knuckles himself. As in, he explained why he's the most powerful Guardian ever, and why he got his magic. Meanwhile, I have a feeling that we'll just be left to believe the Echidnas were all wiped out by the Dracon invaders, even though they'll rule the world and the Dracon invaders end up leaving Mobius anyways. Maybe Knuckles was chosen to guard the Master Emerald because he's the strongest Echidna, since he didn't lead an army after all, but 8,000 years in the future? That implies that they callously left the Master Emerald unguarded for 8,000 years. So again, Penders did it much better because it was guarded from the day the guardianship started, rather than going to convoluted lengths to have Knuckles be the only guardian ever, even though it makes no sense. Nigel Kitching wrote the story, and it was about Sonic being sent forwards in time after spin-dashing helplessly into Chaos in a rage, and emerging from it in front of Eggman and his friends. And we're supposed to just assume the Echidnas all got destroyed by the Dracon somehow, apparently. I guess I said everything I wanted to say in the last paragraph. The point is that there's too many questions I think will forever go unanswered, and having Knuckles supposedly be the only Guardian ever was just stupid, even if it is a floating island, which they don't even explain why it's floating. Well, granted, I know the emeralds make it float, but was it always floating? When did a person decide to make it start floating? How did the Master Emerald stay on Angel Island without being stolen for all this time? Floating island or not, people invented planes. How did Dowland start floating since the Echidnas are obviously down to Mobius since they're ruling the entire world just fine? Am I expected to believe that because Angel Island only stopped being a secret in Sonic's time, it was perfectly safe, unguarded for all that time? Is that why Knuckles was sent to the future, because that's when it won't be safe anymore? At least Penders explained why the island started floating in the first place. And there's no indication that the echidnas in the past here are on an island that's floating because of the emeralds. I'm not asking for literally every detail of history to be explained, just the basic things that leave plot holes behind. We don't seem to see Haven in the Chaos Chamber, just the guard robots of Haven. It wouldn't have been hard to show us one panel of the echidnas in Haven lifting a chunk of rock into the sky to protect Master Emerald, and another panel of Knuckles being sent into the future to protect it when the time comes. Also, Knuckles was constantly saying that the echidnas left for space. So maybe they left to go fight the Dracon Empire, or were kidnapped by them. But those people live in a totally different dimension. Why would they leave? Wouldn't they just be happy they're gone? And stay? Were they kidnapped and forced to be slaves over there? Why didn't we ever see any of them then? Why did they leave prophecies behind that they're destined to return then, if they're all suddenly taken away? It feels sloppy and lazy to leave so many unanswered questions behind, having a million dangling plot threads, while writers infamous as Penders didn't really make that mistake. It's like they didn't care about writing the echidna history at all. It's really starkly contrasted. Also, what good did sending Sonic back in time do? Like, aside from save Tikal at one point. I mean, you'd think someone who can see the future would be able to know that it would be a terrible mistake. Because if Sonic hadn't been sent back in time, he wouldn't have dealt with a prisoner to make him a prisoner and gotten chaos created in the first place. So basically, Johnny would have never been killed if Tikal hadn't summoned Sonic. That's basically all that amounted to: exposition, and Sonic guaranteed Johnny's death a second time.